I'm Riley Jack, and this is the Entertainment Pulse. Today, I'm coming to you guys with one of my favorite events of the entire year, and that is the Academy Awards, which aired this Sunday on ABC. Um, I love the Academy Awards. Let me just tell you guys, this is the day of the year that I look forward to the most. I enjoy the Oscars more than Christmas, my birthday, any other holiday, like combined. This is my favorite day of the year by far. The only possible competition is the Tony Awards for Broadway. And so I'm so excited to talk to you guys about these. And so today I'm going to dive right in and I'm going to tell you guys what I think is going to win, what I think could win, what I think should win, and who should have been nominated that wasn't. For the sake of time, I'm only going to do above the line nominees, and that means writing, acting, directing, and best picture. So I'm going to talk about all of those different categories and go through them each with you. I would love it if you guys let me know what you think. If you disagree with my picks, I would love for you guys to comment below. Let me know. And then after the Academy Awards, I'll do a reaction video and we can talk about which ones I messed up on. I missed out completely, and who knows, maybe this will be the first year I finally get a perfect scorecard. Doubt it. So let's just jump right into this. The first category I want to talk about is a Best Adapted Screenplay. The nominees are The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Klansman, Can You Ever Forgive Me, If Beale Street Could Talk, and A Star Is Born. So I actually think this category is a little bit easier to predict, or at least I would have thought that until a couple weeks ago. So let me just start by saying who I think is going to win is Black Klansman. Reason why, number one, it is a good script. It's very well adapted from its source. I definitely think that the dialogue was good. I think, though, what's really pushing this to frontrunner status is the fact that Black Klansman's not expected to pick up any other awards. It's very common for the Academy to reward a movie with one single award, basically to just kind of acknowledge and say, like, hey, you were here, here's an award, because you're not expected to pick up some other ones that you're nominated for. And I think that's very true with Black Klansman. I don't expect it to win anywhere else. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's a heavyweight in terms of most of the other nominations it has. The other reason I think it's a front runner is because of Spike Lee. Spike Lee has gotten the cold shoulder from the Academy for a long time, and surprisingly, this year was his first year getting a director's nomination. That's crazy, because he's a voice of a generation. He is undoubtedly one of the best directors of his era. And so I think like his name recognition is also pushing this to frontrunner status. So what I meant by I think this was easy to call until a few weeks ago was we had the Writers Guild Awards, and surprisingly, Black Klansman did not win. Surprisingly, Best Adapted Screenplay went to Can You Ever Forgive Me, which is actually not nominated for Best Picture. It's very rare for an award to go to a writing team for a picture that was not nominated for Best Picture. Oftentimes, you have to get that Best Picture nomination to win here. And surprisingly, Can You Ever Forgive Me actually won at the Writers Guild. And so I think it's a possible could win. But I also think A Star Is Born could also win here, mainly because the script was partially written by Bradley Cooper. He helped adapt it, and Bradley Cooper was left out of the director's nominations. And so I think they could maybe push a narrative of, we didn't nominate him here, so let's give him an award here. And kind of get a little bit of a sympathy vote. That being said, A Star Is Born is a remake after a remake after a remake, and so I don't know that they are going to award that. I personally loved A Star Is Born. We'll get more into that later. But I think the could win, if anybody's going to take it from Black Klansman, I think it is Can You Ever Forgive Me. That script is very good. They did a great job portraying the pain and the darkness behind Lee Israel. And so I definitely think that it's a player here, and despite the fact that it's not a Best Picture nominee. So it is my could win. What should win? I'm going to also go with Can You Ever Forgive Me. I think it says a lot when a movie like that wins at the Writers Guild Award. I definitely think that that script was so bitter and biting and really human. We make mistakes, and I think it would have been really easy for them to write Lee Israel as a hateable character, and yet you really didn't hate her. You felt for her. You realized that she did some pretty awful things, but yet she was so human the entire time. And part of that is credit to Melissa McCarthy for her performance. But behind every great performance is a great script, and so I think that they are also to credit here for that. And I'm going to say that they probably should win for that. Um, what should have been here? I actually don't think the Academy really snubbed anyone in this category. I'm sure some people would disagree. If I had to pick one, though, I would pick Boy Erased, based on the book of the same name about a young gay man that enters conversion therapy, and I loved that movie. So I think it maybe should have been here. Now that I say that, I think maybe it should have been here. I was a little bit surprised to see The Ballad of Buster Scruggs was nominated. I think it's nominated because of the Coen brothers writing it. But I definitely think Boy Erased should have gotten some love from the Academy. It was probably one of my favorite movies from last year. But tragically, it was left out of the Academy entirely. Um, so those are my predictions for adapted screenplay. Moving on to original screenplay, we have The Favorite, First Reformed, Green Book, Roma, and Vice. So who do I think is going to win? Definitely The Favorite. I loved The Favorite. I think it was so funny. It had me cracking up in the theater. But it was such a rich dialogue in the sense that they managed to use old English that was true to the time period while also giving it this kind of like modern flair, this kind of sassy attitude flair that I definitely think worked in their favor. Favor. Um, but I definitely think that the front runner here, also because The Favorite's not expected to take home a lot of other awards. I think they'll probably take home production design, maybe costume design. But I definitely think they deserve it. And I think they are the front runner in this case. The only one that I think could overtake them and my could win here is Green Book. Green Book probably was the front runner to begin with. They won the Golden Globe. That was kind of a surprise. But I think the controversies behind Green Book are going to stall it here. I don't think it's stalling it in every category. We'll get more into some of those other ones later. But I definitely think that in terms of a script, The Favorite is going to overtake Green Book. But I would not be surprised if Green Book won. What should win? I'm also going to go with The Favorite for the exact same reasons I said that it was the front runner status. What should have been here? Eighth Grade. I was really surprised to see that First Reformed and Vice got in over Eighth Grade. Bo Burnham wrote that script, and I think it was tragically left out of the Academy. It was definitely one of the best films of 2018. I loved it. And I think that it was a real tragedy that it was completely left out. So sorry, Bo. I hope you continue to write movies, continue to direct, because it was that movie just it hit me right in the gut because it was such a awkward yet so accurate portrayal of middle school that only some people are really gonna get, because not everybody went through an awkward middle school phase, but those of us that did definitely watched Eighth Grade on the edge of our seats, mainly because we're like, oh, that's me. And that is credit to Bo Burnham, both as a director and as a writer. So I think it is tragic that that movie was left out. Moving on to actor in a supporting role. The nominees are Mahershala Ali for Green Book, Adam Driver for BlacKkKlansman, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and Sam Rockwell for Vice. So every year there's at least one category that we can basically call from the get-go. And that was this category this year. Mahershala Ali, he's going to win. He's probably the most big lock of any of the major awards here. And he's just been dominating. He's won the Golden Globe, won SAG, won BAFTA, won Critics' Choice. I mean, nothing is stopping him at this point. A lot of people thought that maybe because he just won 2 years ago for Moonlight, that he wasn't going to win this close. And that is common. A lot of people do not win that close to another winner. The only one in recent memory is Christoph Waltz. Won pretty close awards back-to-back. Not quite back-to-back, but pretty close. So I definitely think, though, that That's not slowing Mahershala down. It didn't slow him down in the precursor awards. It's not going to slow him down at the Oscars. And he is one of those that has kind of survived the Green Book controversy. He's kind of managed to put out there that he's an actor and he did his job and he did his job well. And so the controversies of whether or not the script was accurate really don't fall on him as much as it falls on the screenwriters and the director and the producers. So I definitely think that he's done a very good job surviving the controversies. If anybody can overtake Mahershala, I think it's very doubtful. But if anybody can, it's Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me? His performance, you just gotta love it. I mean, good LGBT representation, question mark, because he wasn't the most likable character, but and yet that's sometimes a very good thing, because sometimes the unlikable characters are not, they're more memorable. And I think Richard E. Grant was definitely one of those. He's a great character actor, and surprisingly, this is his first nomination ever at the Academy, despite having several decades of a career in acting. So I definitely think if anybody can overtake Mahershala, it's Richard E. Grant, but again, I think it's a long shot. Who should win? I actually have a little bit different of an opinion than a lot of people here, and a lot of people do agree with me. I'm going with Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born is who should win, mainly because every time there's an acting nominee, people talk about you have to have a moment to get that Academy Award or to be worthy of an Academy Award. That moment carries the voters to the ballot, and then they fill it out and they say, I'm voting for this person because I remember this exact moment in a movie, and that was their Oscar-defining moment. And for me, Sam Elliott was the most impressive because the moment that I would, if I were an Academy Award voter, the moment that I would be remembering when I voted for him is not one where he had dialogue. It was actually, I'm not going to spoil A Star Is Born for anyone, although you should go see it. He has a moment with Bradley Cooper in a truck, and Bradley Cooper confesses some things, and the look in Sam Elliott's eyes, the expressions on his face, it just goes to show that he's a master of his craft. And he is like Richard E. Grant and has never gotten a nomination before, and that's shocking. But definitely Sam Elliott, I think just that one moment and was so impressive to me that I think he should win. Who should have been here that wasn't? Easily Timothée Chalamet for Beautiful Boy. I love Timothée Chalamet. He's easily one of my favorite actors ever. I thought he should have won last year when he was in leading actor for Call Me By Your Name. I thought he should have won against Gary Oldman. He is just this young ingenue that is going to probably be the Leonardo DiCaprio of his generation. And I thought his performance in Beautiful Boy was just another level up that people just aren't aware that he is this phenomenal young actor. And I was really surprised to see that Sam Rockwell got in over him. Not because I don't think Sam Rockwell is a good actor. I thought he was great in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. His performance in Vice is limited. George W. Bush is who he portrays, and I think his performance as George W. Bush is more like an impression more than it is him imbuing the character. And that movie is very dividing. A lot of people praise Amy Adams and Christian Bale, and I didn't think Sam Rockwell was as remembered as they were for this performance. And so I was really surprised to see that he got in over Timothy. And it was kind of odd because Timothy had gotten all the precursor award nominations. He was nominated at Golden Globes, SAG, BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and yet the Academy snubbed him. I didn't see that coming at all. I thought if anybody was vulnerable, I kind of thought it might be Sam Elliott because he was not nominated at the Golden Globes. But it is what it is, and I'm sure Timothy is going to win at some point in the future, or at least I hope he does. So those are my picks for supporting actor. Moving on to supporting actress. The nominees are Amy Adams for Vice, Marina de Tavira for Roma, Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk, Emma Stone for The Favorite, and Rachel Weisz for The Favorite. So this one's been a little bit topsy-turvy, so to speak, because Regina King has been the frontrunner, and she still is the frontrunner, and yet she was left out of two of the biggest precursor awards. And I don't mean that she didn't win, I mean she wasn't even nominated. So this category has been kind of hard to gauge, mainly because she was left out of SAG and left out of the BAFTAs. Why, though, I say she's still going to win is because I don't think a true runner-up has emerged to her. And also, if Beale Street was kind of cold-shouldered out of a lot of nominations, it didn't get a Best Picture nomination. And so I think that this could be Beale Street's main honor. I think it could also win for a few other technical awards that it's up for, specifically maybe score. But I definitely think Regina King is the main frontrunner, specifically because a true runner-up, so to speak, has not emerged. So that brings me to who could win. A lot of people would like to say Amy Adams because she's been nominated. This is her 6th nomination and she's never won. Which, if Glenn Close wins this year for leading actress, that'll actually make Amy Adams the new actress that has had the most nominations and no wins. And I think that's tragic because I love Amy Adams. I think she's phenomenal. But I don't see her getting this for Vice. I think if anybody could overtake Regina King, I'm actually going to go with Rachel Weisz for The Favorite. And mainly because she won the BAFTA award. But it's kind of hard to say. Because the BAFTA is a British Academy Award, and so people could argue that she just had the home turf status, and that's why she got it. But I do think Rachel Weisz has kind of always been the quiet runner-up to Regina King. And the reason why I say that is because The Favorite it's a wonderful film, and her character is just got this huge kind of downfall. I won't go into details because I don't want to spoil it, but it takes a masterclass actress to portray the kind of dignity and the fall from grace that character has. And the kind of... she's not an easy character to necessarily like, and yet you can't wait for her to come back on because she's so entertaining, and it takes a masterclass to give that type of performance. And that's also why I'm going to say I think Rachel Weisz should win. Don't get me wrong, Regina King is phenomenal as Sharon in If Beale Street Could Talk. I love Rachel Weisz's performance in that. I couldn't wait for her to come back. As for Marina de Tavira, Emma Stone, and Amy Adams, I think that they're all equally worthy of being nominated. I just don't think any of them have any steam because they haven't won any precursor awards, and Rachel Weisz at least got the BAFTA. Which I do want to talk for a second about the SAG Awards, because Regina King was left out, and people thought that if a runner-up was going to emerge, that either Rachel Weisz or Amy Adams would win and then possibly take the frontrunner status from Regina King, and yet Emily Blunt won for A Quiet Place. And so that shocked a lot of people because she wasn't nominated at the Oscars, and so nobody knew who the runner-up was going to be, and so Regina King maintained her frontrunner status specifically for that. But that does bring me to who should have been here: Emily Blunt for A Quiet Place. That performance, I love Emily Blunt, and she's never been nominated for an Oscar despite giving amazing performance after amazing performance. And this year I thought she might get 2 for A Quiet Place and for Mary Poppins in lead actress. She didn't get either. I was so irritated about that. It's not even funny how mad I was about that because I love Emily Blunt. But I definitely think she should have been here for A Quiet Place because, man, that performance, when you don't even have dialogue, you have to rely just on your ability to communicate with facial expressions and eyes, and you have to have a dynamic range of emotions to take on a performance like that. Believe me, I mean, I'm a theater major, and I don't know that I could have pulled off what Emily Blunt pulled off. I'd like to think that maybe I could one day, but I think she's a masterclass, and I think she should have been here. So those are my supporting actress nominees. Moving right along to Best Director. The nominees are Spike Lee for BlacKkKlansman, Pawel Pawlikowski for Cold War, Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, and Adam McKay for Vice. Very similar to supporting actor. This one has kind of been a given since the get-go. Alfonso Cuarón is going to win for Roma. There's no question about that in my mind. Roma is a beautiful film. I'm not normally a foreign language lover, only because it's just not what I dive into on a regular basis. And yet, Roma had me hooked. I loved Roma, and now I kind of think maybe I need to give more foreign language films another try. But it's been Alfonso's to win. He's one of the best filmmakers of his generation, and he is kind of a hot commodity right now. So he's going to win for Roma. If anybody could win, Spike Lee for Black Klansman, but I don't see that happening. But if anybody could hypothetically take it from Alfonso, it would be Spike, because he has been shafted so long for his directing nominations. And this being his first, again, is just mind-boggling. But with the should win in this category, it's still Alfonso. Man, that movie, just his ability to direct something like that, and something that not all of us maybe endure in our regular lives due to social class and everything like that, and yet he managed to direct it in such a way that everyone can relate to it. Even if you have never experienced anything like those characters have, you understand the pain and the humanity that goes into a story like that. And so it is Alfonso's to win. Who should have been here? Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. I don't know where he was. I don't know what happened here. The only thing I can think of is a lot of, for those of you that don't know, when they vote to nominate these different things, not everybody votes for every award. And so it is just directors voting for Best Director nominations. And the way that is, I think, is what worked against Bradley Cooper, mainly because I think some of these directors don't like the idea of actors becoming directors. And so I think he deserved to be there. I thought this A Star Is Born is the best iteration of that story. I loved that movie, and I thought his take on going behind the different concert scenes and showing the audience that was actually there. It wasn't anything that was improvised. It was real fans in the audience and whatnot. I think he definitely deserved to be here. So moving on now to actor in a leading role. The nominees are Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen for Green Book. So this one's kind of all over the place, mainly because when award season was very, very early on, people actually thought Ryan Gosling was going to be a major contender here, and he did a great job with First Man, but that movie just didn't connect with audiences the way they hoped it would, and it didn't land very many awards. It was only nominated in technical awards. So then he kind of lost his frontrunner status, and people thought it was going to be Bradley Cooper, which this is Bradley Cooper's fourth acting nomination. So people kind of thought, okay, we're finally going to get him an award. And then the Golden Globes happened, and he lost to Rami Malek. And then Christian Bale picked up the comedy actor award, and then Christian Bale won the Critics' Choice, and then Rami Malek won the SAG award. So it's kind of been back and forth between Christian Bale and Rami Malek, surprisingly. And all of them are equally deserving. I'm a little bit surprised that Viggo Mortensen wasn't a bigger player here, but he hasn't won any precursor awards, and so I think his chances are slim. Willem Dafoe was a definite surprise that he even got in. A lot of people thought either John David Washington for Black Klansman was going to get this nomination, or that Ethan Hawke for First Reformed was going to get the nomination, and neither one broke through. So I definitely think that this race is probably between Rami Malek and Christian Bale. However, I'm going with a bit of a out there choice in this category for who I think is going to win. I am going with Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. My reasoning is because Bradley Cooper was not nominated for Best Actor. I think the film is so much better than what it is probably going to get in terms of awards. Its only lock is Shallow for Best Original Song, and I think that's tragic because I think it was one of the best films in the last like 10 years. Um, and a lot of people say, it's a remake upon a remake upon a remake. Okay, but that doesn't take away from the quality of the film itself. And I truly think it should be judged on its own merits. And I think that Bradley Cooper's performance was easily the best of this year. And so I think maybe he's going to get a sympathy nomination for not getting a director nomination. I think maybe Christian Bale and Rami Malek are going to kind of split the vote, and Bradley Cooper could come in here and win. A lot of people do not agree with me. If you guys are Gold Derby fans, you guys can go on there and look at what experts think. I don't think a single expert says Bradley Cooper. I think majority of them say Rami Malek because he won at SAG, and then I think a handful say Christian Bale for Vice. But I'm going with a long shot here and saying that Bradley Cooper is going to win. Who could win? I'm tying that between Rami Malek and Christian Bale. I would not be surprised if either one won. Who should win? Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. Man, that performance just broke my heart. I've seen a lot of Bradley Cooper movies. I think he's easily a great leading actor. And I think this was his best performance. And to be able to give that kind of performance and still direct yourself, I think takes a whole nother level of talent. And I would like to point out that he did all of his own singing in this film, and he did all of it live, which I think is an incredible feat that not enough people are talking about. And he sounds great. I could easily believe that he was an old retired country rock singer. So I think he should win. Who should have been nominated? A lot of people say John David Washington or Ethan Hawke. I think I'm going to go with Lucas Hedges, actually, for Boy Erased. He was nominated at the Golden Globes, but that movie was phenomenal, and it did not get enough love this season. And his ability to... I know he's kind of talked about how he's kind of open as far as his sexuality and whatnot, but he just... The things that real-life person went through... it's heartbreaking, and the ability to do his scenes with two legends like Nicole Kidman and Russell Crowe says a lot that he is of kind of a similar acting class. I think Lucas Hedges will eventually morph into a leading actor that everybody recognizes, and kind of like Timothée Chalamet will kind of become a young ingenue that grows into an established actor. But I definitely think he should have been here, and I think Boy Erased as a film was just overlooked too much. So those are my best actor predictions. Best actress, the nominees are Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, Glenn Close for The Wife, Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, and Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me. Similar to Best Actor, this one has kind of been kind of a roller coaster. And I mean that in the sense that when this race first began, people thought that this was going to be Lady Gaga's for the win, and I kind of agreed with that. And then she didn't win at the Golden Globes. Glenn Close beat her. And the reason why people weren't betting on Glenn Close when this race first started was just because The Wife was a very underseen movie. It didn't do like massive box office like A Star Is Born did. And so people were kind of like, yeah, it's Glenn Close, but like, this film, it's just not getting traction as itself, whereas A Star Is Born is this mega hit that did really well. But then she won at the Golden Globes, and I gotta say, I love The Wife. I actually really like the movie as a whole, but man, Glenn Close, she is just a phenomenal actress, and this is her 7th nomination, and she's never won, and I think that's eventually what's pushing her. So who is going to win? As much as I adore Lady Gaga, Melissa McCarthy, Olivia Colman, I think this is Glenn Close's to win. I think it's mainly because she's been nominated so many times and never won. But her performance in this movie is phenomenal. It is spectacular. If you haven't seen The Wife, go pick it up. Go get it from Redbox or Family Video or whatever rental place you guys have. It's a great movie, and her performance is just phenomenal. She is able to convey a lot of different emotions from the get-go. You understand the kind of dynamic and true mastercraft that goes into a performance like that, because it's very understated. She doesn't get a huge emotional blow up until later in the movie, but man, those nuances that she delivers earlier in the movie are just spectacular. Who could win? If anybody can take it from Glenn Close, I do still think it is Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, mainly because she tied Glenn Close at the Critics' Choice Awards. I know that Olivia Colman won the BAFTA, but again, British. They're going to always kind of favor British actresses over American actresses. Um, but Lady Gaga is kind of this ingenue that is new on the scene, of course. Um, Guys, I'm a little monster. I've loved Lady Gaga since the beginning. I thought her performance in this was top notch. I mean, you would if I did not know who Lady Gaga was, I would not have believed that was her first movie. Um, Her singing is on point as you would expect, but the her ability to show heartbreak and her ability to show um, passion. And what's interesting is at the beginning of the movie, she's kind of her character has kind of given up on herself, which is so different than what Lady Gaga's personality portrays. And so a lot of people say like, oh, it's a pop star, you know, she's basically just playing herself. No, this is a completely different performance and completely different person from Lady Gaga. So I do think that because of the success of A Star Is Born, and because she is kind of this, you know, she just burst on the scene and everybody was talking about her. If anybody could beat Glenn Close, I think it's her. And for those exact reasons, I am going to say I think Lady Gaga should win. I would like to say, however, Melissa McCarthy. Oh my gosh, can you ever forgive me? Phenomenal film. If you guys haven't seen it, again, go see it. But her performance in this, she transforms into this completely different person than what we have ever seen her portray before. And I mean, oh my gosh, her performance in this movie is just phenomenal. She's biting, she is bitter and so human. And I think it's tragic that she's not getting talked about more. I think she should be up there with Lady Gaga, Olivia Colman, and Glenn Close talking about how she could take this. And tragically, I think that she's a very long shot from winning here. So I'm gonna actually kind of say who should win is a tie between Lady Gaga and Melissa McCarthy. Who should have been here? I kind of want to say Emily Blunt from Mary Poppins Returns, because I think her ability to take on that iconic character and kind of make it her own while also paying tribute to Julie Andrews' Mary Poppins is a mastercraft as its own. But I am going to go with Toni Collette for Hereditary. Horror movies, they're very hard to get in here unless you're, you know, Get Out. But I do think both Hereditary and A Quiet Place should have been bigger awards contenders, because horror is kind of having a moment right now where everybody's investing in horror. It's on TV, it's on movies, and Toni is just a master at what she does. I say master a lot, but I think Toni, for that performance, she just gave a next level horror performance. And it's not just your typical she's screaming and she's scared type performance. This performance of hers showed anger, it showed protectiveness, it showed isolation, it showed scare, and terror, and it was just a full range of emotion. And I was a little bit disappointed that she wasn't a bigger awards contender here. But again, there was a lot. This was a stacked year for Best Actresses performances, because I mean, Toni was left out, Emily Blunt was left out, Nicole Kidman was left out for both supporting Boy Erased and lead for Destroyer, which I think is tragic, because I think all of those performances are phenomenal. And Viola Davis for Widows was also left out, and I think that's tragic, because Viola Davis is a straight goddess of acting. You can't even argue with me on that one. Okay, finally, Best Picture. So there are 8 nominees this year. We have Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice. So this one has kind of been a little bit wishy-washy as far as who's going to get it. I will tell you guys that this is easily one of the hardest years to call in terms of Best Picture, because normally I would say we have it down to who is probably going to win and then somebody that could take it away. But I would say this one's still wide open. A lot of people think it's down to just 2, and I think it's wide open. I think at this point it's anybody's game. So who do I think is going to win? I'm going to give it to Roma. A lot of people think it's between Roma and Green Book. I think that Roma is going to get it because of when it came out. It's perfectly timed with a lot of relevance in terms of the Mexican experience with Trump and the wall and everything going on right now. I think that it's the perfect time to release a movie like this. And although Roma doesn't take place in the current day, it still has a lot of political relevance to what's going on right now. And I think that's important. But Roma is, at the end of the day, just a spectacular film. I thought that the script and the cinematography in this were next level. But Roma, it's a very simple kind of movie in the terms that it's just a human life. It's not this fancy story, but it is so human and so relatable. And I think it's kind of a movie that needs it right now. And it's starting to kind of get steam because it's starting to win some last minute awards. And so I do think that it is who is going to win. And it will be a first for Netflix. Netflix has never really had a Best Picture contender, and finally they got Roma, and Roma has been their champion so far. So I think that maybe because Netflix is kind of the ultimate entertainment distributor, that Roma could be their first win. Side note, I hope that we do not ever get to a place where we just watch Netflix at home and we don't go to movie theaters anymore. Movie theaters, it's an experience. Please go support your local movie theater. Uh, Anywho, who could overtake Roma? Well, at this point, the only movies I don't see having a chance at all are Vice and Bohemian Rhapsody, specifically because they're so divisive, and I don't think they're going to give it to Vice, mainly because the critics loved, hated Vice and Bohemian Rhapsody. I know that the whole Bryan Singer controversy has not affected Rami Malek in terms of Best Actor or any of the technical categories. I think it's affecting it here. They don't want to award a movie that has someone like Bryan Singer as associated with it. So I don't think Bohemian's out, despite the fact that or I do think it's out, despite the fact that it won the Golden Globe. A lot of people think Black Klansman's out. I can kind of agree with that just because it hasn't won any precursor awards, and I don't think it has a lot of steam in this category. So I don't think it's going to win. The favorite, I think maybe it could pull it, but I definitely think it's kind of the dark horse right now. Mainly because it's just one of those films that it's a period piece, and people tend to either love those or think they're boring. I personally love The Favorite. I thought it was phenomenal. I would love it if it won, but I do think it is a long shot. So that comes down to Black Panther, Green Book, or A Star is Born for who could upset Roma. A lot of people think A Star is Born is out. I disagree because it was just such a loved movie by both critics and audiences. And I think it's hard to ignore that kind of love. And I think that at this point, it's probably... it is a long shot, but I don't think it's out. So then, who do I think could win? I'm actually going to give this to Black Panther. A lot of people think that the nomination itself for Black Panther is the reward. I think that its win at SAG says otherwise. I think its win at SAG says it's a serious contender for Best Picture. And despite the fact that that award at SAG was actually for Best Acting Ensemble, which it did well deserved, I think that it's a serious contender here. And I think maybe it's one that people aren't talking about. But here's the thing. When people look back on the 2010s movies, Black Panther has so far made more money than any of them. The only movies that still outrank Black Panther in terms of money are Avatar and Titanic. And so I think Black Panther will be easily one of the movies that defines this era. And I think it would be a nice little bow to put on it and say it also won Best Picture. So I think that if anybody's going to upset Roma, it's going to be Black Panther. A lot of people think Green Book, but I think the controversies are stopping Green Book there. People just can disagree with me on that if you want. Let me know what you guys think of the Green Book controversies, because there's kind of been mixed reactions to that. But if anybody can beat Roma, I think it's Black Panther. Who should win? People disagree with me about this a lot. A lot of critics disagree with me about this. A lot of awards pundits disagree with me about this. I say A Star is Born. I think A Star is Born was the best picture of 2018. And the reason I say that is despite the fact that it's a remake upon remake upon remake, it is just phenomenal. The ability to intertwine such a human story while also putting it on a pedestal of the traumas behind alcoholism and fame and loss of fame and the trajectory of someone that launches onto the scene like Lady Gaga has, like her character Allie did. The effects that it can have on that. I think that despite the fact that these are two celebrities that the film portrays, it's such a human story. It's one that everybody of every denomination can relate to. And just the chemistry in that movie is next level. Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper, my hats are off to them. I would love it if A Star Is Born won. And it's one of the only nominees this year that as soon as I walked out of the movie theater, I said I wanted to buy it on DVD. Again, I hope DVDs never become obsolete. I love collecting DVDs, but I did buy A Star Is Born on DVD the day it came out, and so I think it should win. What should have been here? A lot did get left out. If Beale Street Could Talk got left out, Can You Ever Forgive Me got left out. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, side note, that's a definite lock. It's going to win an animated feature film. It got left out of Best Picture. I would have loved to see an animated movie break it. But I am going to say, again, Boy Erased should have been a Best Picture contender. It should have been just a bigger awards contender in general. I would have loved it if it had gotten in here, but it didn't have enough steam. But again, kind of like A Star Is Born, I'm going to buy it on DVD and rewatch it. So that's Best Picture, and those are my predictions. If you guys disagree with me, please let me know why. I would love to know what you guys are predicting. And again, the Oscars are this Sunday on ABC. I hope you guys are tuning in. It's my Super Bowl. I dress up for it. I will make snacks. I will make drinks. I will decorate for it. It's my biggest day of the year. I can't wait, and I can't wait to see how well my predictions pan out. And I can't wait to see how you guys do either. So comment below with your guys' predictions. And don't forget to subscribe and like this. Recommend this to your friends. If they're not into the Oscars, too bad. Show them this video anyway. Make them like the Oscars. I think everybody should. But thank you guys again for tuning into the Entertainment Pulse. Once again, I'm Riley Jack. Follow me on Twitter @ThisIsRileyJack. And I will see you guys after Oscar Sunday. Bye.